My name was Richard Haynes Dorn, but I've been called Dick ever since I was a baby. Because my brother, who was 8 years older, they didn't know what to call me when I was born. Because it was kind of a surprise. They didn't know male or female. And his favorite actor was Richard Dix. You remember him?
Yes.
So they said, well, we'll call him Richard, but we'll call him Dick for short instead of Dix. So that's how I got my name. I was born in it was either a 2 or 3 story apartment building right downtown Indianapolis. It was right across from the main post office. But they moved out when I was 3, so I don't recall it, but that's where I was born, right downtown Indianapolis. Well, the Depression didn't mean much to me because my dad owned the drugstore now. He had tough times because of the Depression. And he never donated to charity because he had so many people in the area where he lived that were poor. And a lot of times they needed medicine, and he would give them that. That's how his charity was. He gave them medicine when they needed it and helped them out. And I remember sometimes bill collectors come around and he'd go down in the basement and hide from them. That part I remember. But we were sort of a normal income family, so we didn't really weren't deprived of anything. But I do remember we had a factory, a real silk factory, about a block from our drugstore downtown. We had 3 drugstores, and there was a big riot one time. Not a riot, but a big strike, and they were all over the street by us, and they pushed cars over. They never bothered us because they all knew my dad and all the favors he's done them, so we were never touched. This is my dad. I sculptured that. I walked around the drugstore with clay in my hand, sculpturing it, and once in a while he'd stop and pose for me a little bit. He was a chain smoker. I mean, really, from 1 in the morning, 1 at night, all day long.
What brand?
He would never make it tell because he smoked at his drugstore.
Was it
But he died of cancer.
Chesterfield or Camels, or do you remember?
Chesterfield. Oh, always Chesterfield.
Chesterfield?
Yeah, that was his brand. And during the war, when cigarettes were very hard to get, he had Chesterfield, so no, he wouldn't sell that. He kept those for himself because mostly we had Marvels and Wings and those brands of cigarettes. I had a sister who was 4 years older and a brother who was 8 years older. But I was sort of a surprise. They didn't know I was going to be born. I mean, you know, they never planned on it. And I don't know why they didn't take my mother to the hospital. They never told me that. My aunt who lived here, that's why I came to Santa Barbara to visit her. She was my favorite aunt. She told me my mother almost died. But that's all I know. They never told me much about it.
And yet
I moved out of there when I was 3. And then we moved, rented a house which we asked up for about 15 years. Because when I got out of the service, my dad was having a big house built for my mother, a brick house, brick and 4 bedrooms and so forth. So. Now we did do a few things together, not very often though, because he was always at the store. That was his life. One main store. Now Indianapolis was designed by the same person that designed Washington D.C., where you got separate streets going out in avenues, you know, at an angle from the main downtown square, where the monument is, and our store was on one of those, and so therefore the store was sort of at an angle rather than square. And he spent his whole life there, practically. And he was the only one that would stay open late at night. Everybody else closed at 10, but my dad would close at 11:30, 12, 12:31, whatever felt like closing. Today they've got millions of different formulas of medicine, and they have to know what everyone is for, and all of that stuff with it. In those days, he mixes powders together on a little mortar and filled the little capsules, and very few prepared pills in those days. They came later, but when he started out, there was very little. In fact, he used to have a big brass thing that he'd make his own chocolate syrup and cook it in the back. And that was the way you get chocolate syrup, because it wasn't pre-made in the early days. And one day, one person was having a chocolate soda or a shake or something, and he told my dad, "Boy, this is Dorn good." That's our last name, D-O-R-N, Dorn. My dad loved that, so from then on, all 3 drugstores had a big sign, "Dorn good sodas and malted milks," on the side of the buildings. We all went to the same grade school. We all went to the same high school in Indianapolis. Now, I didn't go to college. I did study art for 4 years, but my sister went to Butler University, and my brother went to a pharmacy school. It was an independent, but they were sort of connected with Butler, I believe. So my brother was a pharmacist, just like my dad. Sculpturing was fairly new to me at the time. I did a few other things, but mostly I wanted to be a cartoonist. I studied anatomy art for one of the top art teachers in the country. But I never turned out to be as good an artist as I wanted to be. Now my daughter, she's way past me. She passed me up when she was in what they call middle school. At that time, she was her artwork was so terrific. But she's a assistant professor at Hawaii University. She teaches advanced animation. She's a fantastic artist. My oldest daughter, who's 50, she won't be 51 until later in the year. She's a photographer in Hollywood. She photographs actors who have to have headshots. She's done a lot of famous people, but she was also a fantastic horse lady, winning a lot of blue ribbons and jumping and so forth. That's my family.